So I was thinking, let's put the O back into Ohel Ari, but let's take the hell out of Ohel Ari.
Emma, you're live on YouTube now. Be careful what you say.
Let's take the I out of Ohel Ari and make it into a we. Can we think of any good phrases? I need a marketing person.
But why in English? I'm sorry for asking.
No. So okay, bon as tachziru et ha'oi la'oihel ari lo ze lo tov.
Okay.
But if we can think of a good phrase, it would be great, because I think we need a good phrase, guys.
Maybe return the roar.
To reunite the community. So
yes.
Actually, Yossi's going to work on it while we chat.
Excellent. I can always rely on Yossi.
Yeah, well.
Aaron, do you want to open your video? L'chaim.
L'chaim. Yeah, which Karen is that? Hello.
That's Karen Weinstein. Hi, how are you?
I want to know where you went foraging. And did you?
I've made it twice. I've picked up that mallow and made it twice. It's so easy and it's very delicious.
My daughter-in-law made it tonight. She had such a good time with it.
She made
I
what?
saw mallow near Neot Uzi up there in the new area, Neve Zemer.
There's tons of it. It's everywhere.
It's tons of it. It's all over the place.
What is it?
How do you know you're picking mallow and not, I don't know, deadly murdering nightshade?
There's nothing else. I don't think there's anything out there that would kill you.
Okay.
And it has a very distinctive look to it.
Oh no, yeah. I know what it looks like. And when you really did it, can I come with you next? Oh no, I can't.
It's very easy. It's very, very easy.
After the sege, can we go together?
Yeah, sure. Happily.
Am I the only one that doesn't know what mallow is?
I did.
Kubeza?
Looks like an oversized nasturtium.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
If you go up to the Neve Zemer and you look in that like wild area in between the highway and the apartments,
exactly.
There's tons.
Yeah, it's growing in mountains.
Excuse me.
It covers everything.
And during the War of Independence, there was debates whether to broadcast recipes, including khubeza, on the radio.
Really?
Yeah, and I think the ultimate decision was not to, because they felt that if the Arabs knew how desperate the Jews particularly in Jerusalem were, they would feel inspired to fight harder, because they would realize what they had been reduced to.
Wow. I understand that it's very much an Arabic food anyway.
Very popular in Arabic cooking.
What's is mallow khubeza?
Yeah, that's khubeza.
Ah, so if Renana is ever under siege, we will not starve.
That is true.
At least in this January year.
Yes.
For a month or two.
Hi, Ruth.
Oh, Ruth, it's Wednesday. You're cooking.
Oh, thank God. Ruth's chopping vegetables.
Always right with the world.
How are you, Beppy? I can't hear.
Hi, Mindy. So Nadine Zar was going to come on today, but Baruch Hashem, she's been up all night and has a new grandson.
Oh.
So, as this is going out onto YouTube, let's give a big mazel tov to Nadine and Selwyn on the birth of their new grandson.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Wonderful news. A healthy baby. That's fantastic.
Amen, amen. Healthy lockdown baby.
According to Facebook, it's Miriam Dietrich's birthday today, so I was hoping she was going to come on, but she hasn't come on. Hi, Debbie.
Hi. Sorry, I'm driving. I'm listening while I'm driving.
Where are you driving?
Me?
Yeah.
To the dentist.
Hope you don't get stuck again.
No.
Hello,
you're allowed to drive to the dentist, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Is this being recorded so I can watch the second half once my appointment's at 1:30?
It's going out live on YouTube.
Okay, good.
It'll be on YouTube.
Okay, great.
Mindy, please call me because next month we're having another session of charities. Mindy Eisner.
Great. And we can see you, but we can't hear you. Hi, Randy. Hi, Carol.
Wait, I want to ask a question. Are we allowed to eat lunch while we're watching?
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll let you.
I don't want to,
Definitely.
because I don't want to be rude or something. Or
hey, Carol.
Funny.
I don't know the protocol of.
We can't hear you, Carol.
Yeah, guys. Yes.
I'm leaving at 1:30 because I'm going for my second vaccines.
Good luck.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's going to change our lives, but it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you're not so scared about it, perhaps. You know.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it says we have to carry on keeping distance and wearing masks and washing hands. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is.
Well, don't forget, like your grandchildren and things like that, you know, they're going to GAN. Well, they will be, hopefully one day.
Yes.
And because the mums and dads are going climbing the walls.
Yeah, well, I know. One of my friends said that she foolishly offered to do anything that her kids needed, and 3 of her grandchildren are now moving in with her.
Oh, right.
Naomi's.
Like, what did I do? That was so clever. Hey, Shari. Oh, good turnout today, Zara.
Yeah. Should we start?
Yes.
Which of you wants to start? Who wants to go first?
We should all go on mute, by the way.
Yeah. Naomi, can you mute
yourself.
everybody? Decide which of you is going first. You've got 7 minutes each.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Naomi, you might be a good lead into me. So maybe you first and I'm second.
So maybe I can start, and then Sasha, you'll be last. Okay, I'll start. Okay. I'm muting everybody, and I'm still on, so I'll start. Hi, everybody. My name, whoever does not know me, I'm Naomi Pugac. I've been let me rephrase. I've been volunteering in Mishneh Lechem for over 30 years. It all started out literally like once upon a time. I was a young mother and I had a couple of kids at home, including a small handicapped child, which will tie into what Sasha's going to tell us about Beit Shapira later on. But I was driving somewhere and I saw a friend of mine who was also a young mother, and her trunk was open and it was packed with these white bags that were all identical. And I knew she was delivering them to needy families. And I said, that was before WhatsApp and Facebook. I had no idea what she was doing. So I stopped and said, what are you doing? She goes, oh, we're delivering food packages to needy families. So that was my introduction to Mishneh Lechem. It turns out that about 3 years before that, a wonderful person who has since moved on to a better world, Avishai Anker Zal, had some friends, and he knew that they were in trouble and they needed help. So he bought extra groceries, and he would stand there and arrange the groceries in the trunk of his car and then bring them the food package. So that was really how Mishneh Lechem started. It has since obviously grown. Ra'anana has grown. We're connected to the social services. About 95% of our families are referrals from the social services. Ra'anana is a very unique, as opposed to other cities. Some of you might raise an eyebrow, how many needy families do we have in Ra'anana? We distribute to 170 families on a bi-weekly basis. They get a food package twice a month. Is that a lot for a city? I never did statistics to compare to other cities, but I think relatively we have less needy families in Ra'anana. But it'll happen, I think, in any city, even in an upscale city. There's always the kind of families that fall apart. Divorces can throw families into a frenzy for a while that they'll need help, financial assistance or food assistance. Sickness in the family will cause it. A handicapped child, unemployment, olim chadashim that brought their whole package of troubles with them. So basically that covers the large part of our needy families. They get on to the list. We help them for about a year, and then we and the social workers reevaluate their situation. And then some of them stay on much, much longer because it's just, they can't get themselves out of the rut. Many of them move on once they stabilize. What did I want to tell you? So we have 170 to 175 families. The way we work is that, well, first of all, our package consists of a package of dry goods, like about 12 different products, such as the basics, legumes, pasta, tuna, cans of, you know, tomato sauce and things like that, coffee, pasta, rice, oil. We also provide the families, depending on their size, with a certain amount of chickens, frozen fish, and eggs. It's a very nice package. Most of them are delivered by volunteers, where most of the volunteers are OHLRE members, and I say to their credit, they're fantastic, they're dedicated over years and years. They continue to come back even when the kids have grown up and can't help them anymore, they're still doing it. So most of the volunteers go to the homes of the needy families, and we have a certain amount, about 15 families that come to our warehouse in the industrial area every 2 weeks, and they pick up their package. And then my partner, Vivi Mann, who's very involved also. Vivi does a lot of things. She's a wonderful person. Families come and she greets them and gives them their food package. I'm trying to think about some bizarre stories with our families, which sort of drove the point in. 1 second, somebody wants to come in. I let her in. Years ago, when we first started, I was so naive at the time. I really thought that I was going to teach these people a lesson. There was a needy family that was like one of these third generation needy families. And it was the time, it was in the 1980s when Ra'anana, Israel, was just getting cable TV for the first time. And like, it was a really big deal. If somebody was able to invest 250, 300 shekel a month to pay for their cable TV, then, you know, great. They had all these extra programs. And there was this one family literally living with 4 children in a 2-room house, so needy, so pathetic. I mean, it was awful. They had to like pick the in Ra'anana. They had to pick the mattresses up during the day so they could use the room for a living room. And then at night put the mattresses down so that everybody could sleep together. And I walked into their house with a food package and I saw she had cable TV. And I looked at her and I said, how can you do that? Our food package is worth the amount of money on a monthly basis, what you're paying for the cables. And she says, let me tell you something. She says, you know what my kids do? You think there's any fun for them in this house? They go out every night and hang out in the park. You know what happens in the park at night? You don't want to know what happens there. If I can do anything to draw my children home and keep them safe and keep them away from bad influences, I will do it. And I said to her, you know what? Hats off to you. You're right. And I learned my lesson. That was one story. Another really bizarre story that I can think of that happened once was this one young family, a woman who had, I think, 2 babies. She was married to a divorcee and his former wife was demanding child support. And instead of, he was working and whatever child support he could give, he would give, but she was very vengeful. And she ended up slapping him with some sort of order and he ended up going to jail for 2 months or something because he wasn't providing full amount of child support. The new wife was working hard, even though she had 2 babies at home. He's in jail and she was paying the other wife child support for her 1 child there. I looked at them and I said, I don't know, like how do you get into situations like this? It was so bizarre, but we helped them for a while. They eventually stabilized and moved on. That's basically it. Somebody asked a question. 1 second, let me see. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to sell. Okay, in terms of volunteering, right now we're blessed with more or less enough volunteers who distribute. Well, it goes like this. I have 2 sets of volunteers and this is what I wanted to get to about packaging. So the volunteers that distribute to the families have to commit to be available every 2 weeks and to deliver to their same families on a regular basis. Packaging has actually.
The story of the piano, the grand piano, the new
one. I don't remember that. Yossi's trying to remind me of a story that I don't remember, so I won't tell it. Packaging, we had up until COVID
started. Naomi, it was a story that you told the first time you spoke in Ohel Ari about Mishneh Lechem, and it sat with me all these years. It was me who reminded him.
Right.
The white grand piano.
So tell it, please, Emma. Go on. No, I remember.
You want me to tell it?
That
you took food to a family and she had nothing, and the only thing she still had was a white grand piano. And you said, or a white piano, and you said to yourself, I don't understand, why doesn't she just sell the piano and buy food? And then you understood that the only thing that was keeping her self-respect as a human being was this remnant of what she lost. And that was giving them hope to get themselves out of it again. And it stuck with me forever that you can't judge people.
Oh, totally. That is actually a very important point, that I've seen so many different things, and you just cannot judge a book by its cover. There's always a story underneath, and in most cases, it's a legitimate story. Yeah, that's the way it is. But anyways, back to packaging. We package the dry goods through an assembly line. And we used to have a WhatsApp group of older people who would love to come, and they came on a regular basis and so on and so forth. As soon as COVID started, we had to stop that. And it's been a year already that I'm looking anxiously for families, nuclear groups, people that can be together in a small space during COVID. We need a minimum of 5. It can be up to 10 or 11 who are willing to come. It takes about an hour and 15, an hour to an hour and a half. It's a lot of fun. From what I understand, people, I've gotten a couple of families when school was out in the first lockdown. It was an opportunity for a family as a whole to go out when you couldn't go anywhere besides the 1,000 meters out of your house. They would go to the machsan, to the warehouse, and pack the bags, and they felt privileged. They were thanking me, and here I'm thanking them for doing such a great job. So, and that's without any commitment. You just have to be available one Sunday, and then there's no other commitment whatsoever in terms of volunteering. And of course, anybody who wants to volunteer in any other way can contact me, and we'll find a way to fit you in. That's basically Mishneh Lechem. So any questions before we move on to Robin?
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Robin?
Okay, so I just unmute. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Robin Katz. I'm from Chicago. I came here in 2007, 3 weeks before Shemitah. I was told Renana would be a very soft landing, and this community has been amazing. It's been really helpful for us. But I don't know if there's any new people here. There are certainly, if anybody remembers, certainly little bumps in the road. So big difference in the school situation, grocery shopping. There's just it was a whole new world. And while the vegetables tasted amazing when I got here, 3 weeks into it, it was Shemitah. And I was like, wait a minute, I read about this. What do you do? And, people here said, don't worry about it. Just look for the sign, Cheter Mechira. And then, I came with 3 kids. My oldest son went off to a yeshiva that, I didn't know much about the whole world of anything at this point. And it turned out it was a Haredi yeshiva. I really didn't even know what Haredi was. We're Baal Teshuvas, and I grew up conservative. When this son didn't want to have a bar mitzvah, he said, look, I have a 7th grade education, it's enough. And I said, I think a 7th grade education isn't enough in anything, particularly Judaism, which is so deep and so much for adults. So I get that you don't like the skills in the Hebrew school you're at, but we'll look. And we found, Orthodox outreach, and that was a whole path that led us here. So when he came home from his first Shabbat, and I prepared this dinner with all the Cheter Mechira, stuff, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Everything has kedusha. There's special rules. So it was a whole thing, and it started my whole learning process, which ultimately led to Startup Roots. So I want to just do a screen share if I can. and show you, because a few pictures worth 1,000 words. Whoops, I don't know how I'm on that. I want to be on this. And let me just get to the play for the slideshow. Play, there we go. So Startup Roots is the name of an organization that I created with others. It's an Amutah, registered Amutah. Created it and started in 2014, officially became an Amutah in 2015. I had survived the first Shemitah and entering the second one, dreading it. And just, to give you a little picture to my words here. These are the kids I came with. They looked a little younger then, I think, but my oldest went off to the Haredi Yeshiva. He's now a Rav, he has smicha and he's teaching. My second came in as a senior in high school. So went to the American International School because he didn't have the language skills, and it was just it's hard to enter high school here in your senior year, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And my youngest one entered Tzvia, and she served in the Army, and she's now working on her master's degree at Tel Aviv University. So there were a lot of things that we came with. One of the things in the corner on the left, what that symbol means to me. I mean, I think that my journey here, I believe this is where Jews should be living, and that we should be living as an example to the world. And so when I came here, and there were certain things that I found challenging. One was the school system, which we had, trouble fitting in, largely because of our own skill set. And the other then was this landscape of the Shemitah thing. And I didn't really understand the rules when I got here, because the Heter Mechira, why didn't that work? So if you go back to the history of this, Rav Kook gave an Ishur, a Heter, that for Shemitah, you can actually sell the land of Israel like you sell your chametz for Pesach. Sell it to a non-Jew, and then we can farm the land, as workers. And there's a lot of other rules too, but that was the basic thrust that the Chazon Ish never agreed with. Why? Because we're also not allowed to sell the land of Israel. So as I came in 2007, and I was trying to get this organized in my head, I'm like, so wait a minute, we're selling the land of Israel to non-Jews. Does the world know about this? And also we're boycotting the Israeli farmer, and there's a large percentage of the population, almost a quarter, that was importing vegetables from Gaza, Jordan, other places, Chutz La'aretz. The whole thing was very confusing to me, and I thought there's got to be a better way. So I survived the first Shemitah. Shortly before the second Shemitah, Debbie Weiss, who I think is on this call, called me up and said, Robin, I got an answer for you. There's a company that grows hydroponically. It grows not in the land, it grows vegetables in water with nutrients. And the rabbis say it's okay. So once again, when people say that to me, I usually say, well, which rabbi? Because now I understand not every rabbi, is viewed equally in my son's world. And so I made an arrangement with this company, and I took the Edith Haredis rabbis, Edith Haredi rabbis, out to Groponics to explore this hydroponic factory. And you can buy Groponics produce in Supercell deal, by the way. Like many things, the people who work in the store don't know that they have hydroponic vegetables, but they do. And I'll tell you why it's good, in a few minutes. But I took this tour of the company, and the rabbi said, this is great. And I was spending a lot of time in Jerusalem, and I, said to the owner of this factory, hey, this is your lucky day. I can help you market the produce. And so he said to me, well, we're not in the business of selling the produce. I'm like, what? And he gave me a whole selection of everything. It was by far the best produce I'd ever tasted anywhere. And I've traveled a lot of places. And, so I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we're just selling it in small quantities here. But the main thing is we're selling the technology, Chutz La'aretz, if people want to buy hydroponic farms. So he went through how it would be profitable for me to buy this. It's only $1 million. In 3 years, I'd have a rate of return. And I said, so let me think about that. I was spending a lot of time in Jerusalem, And I was learning once a week with Rebbitzin Heller at Sarah Rigler's home. One day, Sarah called me up and said, you know, what are you doing today? And I said, I'm going to Ra'anana in the afternoon. Why? And she said, no, I mean, at 10 o'clock this morning, what are you doing? I said, I'm free at 10. She said, all right, pick me up at Mamilla. We're going on an adventure. Where? No, that'd ruin everything. So I pick her up and we're driving down, you know, these streets that they probably shouldn't allow cars to go down. And we stop on Ezra Street in front of a building called the Mashiach Building, built 150 years ago to welcome the Mashiach. Since he hasn't come yet, they have rented the space out to a girls' school.
Robin Love, listen, you've got 5 more minutes. So either talk super fast or talk super fast, because it's great and we want to hear all about it within 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. So, you know, basically we went to the school, and to get into the school, you had to be below the poverty line. What they were giving to the kids to eat was white rice, canned peas, you know, schnitzel. Didn't look healthy. They wanted me to help raise money for the school lunch program. I was happy to donate, but I didn't, you know, have means to sponsor the school lunch program. And Sarah said to me, look, I have people coming from Chutz La'aretz all the time, and they want to do a mitzvah. I don't have a car. I don't have the time. Can you pick them up and bring them to the school? And so that's how it began. And what I noticed over time was that there was kind of a handout mentality, that the kids knew that donors were coming. We weren't serving the healthy food that I had come to love with cooking groups that I had participated in Ra'anana. And I thought, how do we help these kids eat healthier, understand, you know, kind of basic budgets, entrepreneurship, healthy eating, lots of things. And I thought maybe a trial Shemitah farm. You know, I'm thinking something the size of a desk, of a big, you know, and the Menahelet said to me, great idea. Why don't you take the back 100 meters of the schoolyard? And so that's what we did. There's the meals that they were eating. There's the dilapidated school space that was. We built a greenhouse that was 100 square meters. In one cycle, we broke that handout mentality. The kids had their hands out with something to give. We have a nutrition class on the right, and it was just life-changing for the kids. Why did I create an Amutah and expand, you know, food justice and, you know, that there are poor people even in Ra'anana everywhere. We need to take care of them. But also I came to discover there's other problems in the food and the whole food system, not only here, but worldwide. Sustainability, waste, and that we have in Israel the highest use of chemical pesticides in the world. Okay, I don't think that's healthy. I think we need to change it. So when we expanded, the second school that asked us to do this had no space. So we went indoor and vertical. Instead of 14 plants in a square meter, we can now grow 120 plants in a square meter. And we created a curricula in photojournalism. So kids take pictures of what they're doing every day. They analyze the scientific process. They learn better writing skills, culinary arts and nutrition. I mean, we had kids that looking at lettuce saying, are you sure this is kosher? I've never seen it in my house. You know, so we've exposed them to new foods, hydroponics. They start with sprouts. They then go to microgreens. They then go to the full salad. It's all new tastes. The entrepreneurship program, you know, they start with that typical exercise of what does it take to be an entrepreneur, build something. Nobody succeeds the first time, but they realize that with group help, with trying again and again, it's really not failure, but steps towards success. And even in the bottom right picture here, we have a mashkicha teaching kashrut. And even in a Haredi school, the teachers, the kids didn't know how to do trumot, maserot. It's all done by label, you know, just by this hechsher. And I think these are things that we need to teach. So we have
Robin, I'm really, really sorry. It's so interesting. Can we take a cut there? Can you just say how people can get involved? Because otherwise we're not going to have time
visit
for
our
Sasha.
website. I'll just flip through the pictures. This is, you know, we want to, you know, we're working now like a food innovation lab. There's always changing technologies. You can visit our website. We're going to have a Tu B'Shvat Seder with Rav Gav. It's on our website. You can register. We want community involvement. We have lots of volunteers and lots of experts. We've been written up in Family First Magazine, Jerusalem Post, you know, so that's pretty much it. And on our website, you can see all the people that have been involved with our program, and they all have really great things to say.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry to have jumped in. I'm apologizing from Emma and me, but time is limited. Thank you. It's very, very interesting. I didn't realize that it was so enormous. Sasha, over to you.
Sure, thanks. And thank you, Rob and Nomi. It was so interesting to hear from both of you. My name's Sasha Weiss. We made Aliyah 16 years ago. We lived in Zichron for 11 years and then moved to Ra'anana 5 years ago. Have known many of you and look forward, please God, for us all to be together in person soon. I'm the chairperson of Beit Izzy Shapiro, and my history with Beit Izzy started a long time ago. Izzy Shapiro was my grandmother's brother, and he was, by the way, just by a quick show of hands, how many of you have heard about Beit Izzy or familiar with it? Okay. So a whole bunch of people, Yofi. So Beit Izzy Shapiro is a center based in Ra'anana, and the goal of Beit Izzy is really to change the lives of people with disabilities and their families and to make significant social change. And as I said, Izzy Shapiro, who was my great uncle, made Aliyah more than 40 years ago. And when he came to Israel, he was looking for an opportunity to volunteer with people with disabilities. He had done that in South Africa. And when he got here, he saw that there really, the options were very, very limited. 40 years ago, people with disabilities were either sent off to an institution or their parents would shuttle them from mediocre service to mediocre service to try and get their children a proper education and opportunities. And he said, this can't be, there has to be something wonderful here in the state of Israel. And so he decided to start something. He flew to the States and wanted to fundraise. And he actually came to our house. I remember when he came, and he flew from New York to Los Angeles. And unfortunately, he had a heart attack on the flight and he passed away. The family then got together and said, you know what, we're gonna make this dream come true. Naomi Stutchiner, his daughter, who is an incredible woman, she just won the Pras Yisrael for her work for establishing Beit Izzy and her work ever since, said she'll start running the organization, and family members got together and said that they will help with the fundraising and financing of the organization. And that's how it started. My personal involvement, so I was involved right from the beginning, but when I was about 14 years old, I came to volunteer one summer at the Early Intervention Center. And I remember so clearly thinking to myself, okay, when I grow up, I'm gonna make Aliyah, because I fell in love with Israel and I fell in love with the people, the staff at Beit Izzy and the approach. And thank God, you know, it's sort of a nice full circle for me personally. So I want to share with you a little bit about how Beit Izzy went from a very, very small center of 16 children, which started in Herzliya, to an organization that now impacts over 500,000 people a year. And we do that here, we do that on 3 levels. We do that on a local level. Here in Ra'anana, we have our center where there's a Ma'on Yom Shikumi, which is an early intervention center. We have a school. We have many therapies, a hydrotherapy center, a dental clinic, a sports center. We have a lot of impact on a national level as well. Everything that we do in our school, in our early intervention center, in our hydro center, et cetera, we really believe in sharing our knowledge and training professionals from all over Israel. And so we do a lot of training work because at Beit Izzy, what we really believe in is identifying unmet needs in the field of disabilities, finding solutions, whether it's therapies or technology or other systems, and then researching to make sure that things really work, and then sharing. We really believe in sharing as much as possible. So we share from the north to the south. We share with professionals and with other organizations. And we also do a lot of advocacy work around Israel. So when we develop a new model of service, like our early intervention centers, which we started, and there now are 130 around Israel, we also believe that everyone should be able to have access. So we do lobbying work with the government to make sure that, that not only will Will there be the tashtiyot? Will there be the infrastructure? But also there needs to be enough government funding so that people can actually have access to the services. And we also do work on an international level. We have partnerships with over 30 countries, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. So our approach is really very, very holistic. We believe that people with disabilities are entitled to have the best opportunities possible and to be fully included in society. And so we start from a really early age. So in our early intervention center, for instance, I'll share with you a story about a mom who I spoke to recently who has a beautiful daughter named Hadari, and she is 2.5 years old. And Hadari is the 6th child for this family. And she is the only child in the entire extended family who has any disabilities. And her mom spoke about just how challenging it is for the family when you first find out that you have a child with disabilities and you just feel alone. And, you know, she talked about feeling like she was in a dark hole. And what she described when she came to Beit Izzi was that she, for the first time, had people who she really trusted, professionals who cared deeply about her daughter and her daughter's developments, and did everything that they possibly could to help advance Hadari. And so with Hadari, the professionals work on communication, on mobility. So we have kids who are using little, what they call whizzy bugs, which are like little motorized wheelchairs from about 1.5 years. We have kids who are using iPads to communicate, to learn to communicate also from very young ages, from like 1 year old, or kids who are unable to use their hands are using something called eye gaze, where you use your eyes actually become the mouse. So we train kids from a very young age so that they're able to communicate with their families and with their teachers, et cetera. We also very much believe in a holistic approach emotionally as well. And we've just established an emotional therapy center at Beit Izzi because the emotional support that families and kids need is tremendous from that early age. So that's a little bit about what we do in our early intervention. And then we have a school where our kids focus on those same issues, but then there are added layers. So we work a lot on independence, a lot on cognitive skills. Kids are learning math, they're learning to read as much as possible. Each child, obviously, it's fully dependent on whatever their capabilities are, but we try to push, you know, to as much as possible. So we have a beautiful story that I love is of a little boy named Eden who was born with a very, very rare disorder. And his dad tells about how, you know, they just thought that there was no, that he had no cognitive abilities whatsoever. And most children who are born with this disorder are basically institutionalized. And Eden had an amazing speech therapist who worked daily with him and felt like there was something there. And she kept working with him. And what she discovered through the use of technology was that actually he was a super smart kid. And he had, in fact, taught himself English. Somehow, I guess the family put TV on in English at home, and he had managed to teach himself English, and he learned how to communicate through the use of the iPad and through, I think, this, you know, the amazing professional who just was so dedicated. So we have lots of stories like that, but I think it just shows the constant dedication to innovation and to working with each child and each family as much as possible. And then our kids also, you know, as they get older, and it's not only our kids, it's people from all over Israel, are able to join what we call our Inclusive University, which is a program where people of a wide variety of cognitive and physical disabilities are able to get life skills, learn psychology, and really become empowered so that they're able to then go into the job market and work and within their own family environments and reach their maximum capabilities as well. So that's something that's very important. And we have leadership groups. Actually, some of the families from Ohel Ari are familiar with the leadership groups. Kids participate in them, and that's leadership groups of people from a wide range of disabilities who learn how to be self-advocates. We really believe that people with disabilities are the best representatives of the issues. And so that we feel it's our duty to help empower them and to help train people so that they can speak out, whether it's in the Knesset or other forums. So as I mentioned, you know, the idea of sharing is super important to us, and the idea of innovation is super important. That is a constant focus. Overseas, I can tell you that here in Israel, we've worked with our coalition of about 60 other organizations that we had, and we've managed to change about 9 laws around the issue of disabilities. And globally, you know, just to give you a few examples, we work with the JCC Association in the States. We work in Canada with a major rehab hospital. And in China, we helped establish one of the first early intervention centers.
Actually, that's absolutely incredible. Are you still government funded, or do you need private funding as well?
So
if people want to get more involved, do you have a screen with an email? Because I'm just watching the time, and you know, I think all 3 of these charities are so amazing, and I just would like to know, you know, can we contact you privately, or how do we find out?
Everyone can feel free to contact me privately. Absolutely. We are 50%. The way that our budget works is 50% reliant on philanthropy, 25% reliance on government funding, and 25% on what we call self-generated income, which is, we want to limit how much we're reliant on philanthropy. And so we sell our services. A lot of what I described in terms of our training and things abroad also is from this. So yeah, so please feel free to contact me directly, and Beit Izzy Shapiro's website as well. And
maybe
if Corona hard.
Right, so let's not go over, let me not be over on fundraising. So let's just wind it up here to thank Naomi and Robin.
One thing to stop or tell everybody about what Sasha was. So first of all, I don't know, whoever doesn't know, is that my middle child is mentally challenged. And we were in Ra'anana from the time she was born, and we, you know, coming from Switzerland and America, 2 of us only, and we said we'd go anywhere in the world to help push our daughter along. And it turns out that it was like what we call in our backyard. It was here in Ra'anana, because there, she was born in 1987. Beit Izzy Shapiro was the place. Now, Sasha was describing a lot of things on a macro level. And of course, everything Beit Izzy does for me is wonderful. But on a micro level, on a personal level, when she mentioned that mother that saw dark in her child's future, it just totally threw me back, because when our daughter Tamar was young, every night I would think about what will be tomorrow, what will be in the future, and all I saw was black. It was like the color that I could see, nothing. And Beit Izzy Shapiro was there throughout our younger years while we were raising our family, holding our hand and removing the blackness from our lives, and literally helped us along with and also we were also the only family with a special child. My parents were already gone. My husband's parents, I love them, they're wonderful. They always gave us support, but they also said, you know, you can send her away, because that was what the older people did. They sent these people away to institutions far away. But anyways, Beit Izzy Shapiro was there to hold our hand and helped us turn from what I called a retarded family to a family with a retarded child, to a very healthy family with a special needs child. And Beit Izzy Shapiro, on a personal level, and I think this is what they do to every family that they help, and it's thousands of families, because it's not only in Beit Izzy, it's everywhere, is they make a world of a difference. I'll
echo that, not from a personal experience, but also, I think, like where Tamar lives now, one of my great things that I do every year is I go and help out, well, not this year, but with the clothes for the sale. I think we're an amazing community. I think we have to remember that. I really want to thank everyone for coming today, and particularly thank Robin and Naomi and Sasha. I think we all assume that we all know everything that's going on, and we really don't. And Shemitah is coming up, and We have many things to prepare for. We all have a lot of love to give, a lot of support to give, and a lot of virtual hugs to give to each other. And I'm sending you all a big virtual hug, and we will see you next week.
Okay, thank you all very, very much. Maybe the whole session was recorded live on YouTube. It would be really great, Sasha, Naomi, and Robin, if you would go into the BKOA YouTube channel and put in the comments the details of how anybody can contact you.
Great.
So, because I know a lot of people go on afterwards who couldn't join at lunchtime, and they want to know what was going on. So if you go into comments on the YouTube channel, then people can see how to contact you and your organizations. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Be well. Bye.
Thank you.